So you're not going, God, I'm under stress and something's off, that feeling that I had, and something's wrong. And I'm going from doctor to Reiki healer and this, and everybody's adding a different ingredient to the pot in the kitchen, but we're not coming up with the solution. So we put it in a solution for everybody and tested it, and it worked.
Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. Here's a little background info for Dr. Romie Mushtaq. Dr. Romie is a board-certified physician. Now, she brings together more than 2 decades of leadership in neurology, integrative medicine, and mindfulness. She is an award-winning speaker working with Fortune 500 companies, professional athletes, and global associations. Her brain shift programs improve mental well-being and help to build a culture of wellness. Dr. Romie serves as a chief wellness officer for Great Wolf Resorts, which is super fun. There's one near me. Her expertise is featured on national media such as NPR, NBC, TED Talks, and Forbes. Her first book, The Busy Brain Cure, was published by HarperCollins, released in January of 2024, and you can learn more at drromie.com or join the Brain Shift movement. Dr. Romie on social media. Join the Brain Shift movement at Dr. Romie on social media, and all these things will be linked. I can't wait for you to hear this episode. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Female Health Solution podcast. I have a really fun guest today, Dr. Romie Mushtaq. I am really excited you're here.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Beth, same. This conversation is so long overdue. An honor to serve your community and truly be present for everyone. In today's world, I don't take anybody's time for granted. So I start with gratitude and how you and I can be of service, that someone took the time to put us between their ears today.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. That's really sweet. Okay. So there's a ton of stuff that I have marked down that I want to get into for today. But just to start, I would love to know how you got involved in this type of work.
Yeah. So my background, Dr. Beth, I am a triple board certified doctor in neurology and integrative medicine. So really bringing Eastern and Western medicine together for brain and mental health. That's the tagline. But let's talk about the backstory. I am the proud daughter of immigrants, and English is my third language. And being born here in the United States, my dad's success mantra from the time he came to say a prayer over me in the newborn nursery was, I have one daughter and you will become a doctor. And that was great and fine because I excelled in school. I needed advocates like my parents in the public school system in a small town in Illinois for a young girl growing up in science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine at a time. I mean, I don't know where you grow up, but back then they were like, why does she want to take honors chemistry? Shouldn't she be taking a home economics class and learning how to make pancakes from scratch? I mean, sister, I still don't know how to make no pancakes at home, but thank God for Uber Eats, right? Like it is. So mission accomplished. And I entered neurology at a time where less than 5% of the brain doctors in America were women, and loved my job and my role. Not only was I seeing patients, I was doing cutting edge research on the role of women's hormones in the brain and diseases like epilepsy and migraine. And I think long before it was normal to use or even present to use having mental health issues at work or burnout, I was suffering. There was no term for it. I just had a lot of guilt and shame that I failed. I failed my family. I failed my ancestors. I was failing all women in medicine. And I just kept pushing. I was struggling, thinking I was alone. Nobody, and I learned firsthand that chronic stress will cause physical disease, and chronic stress can kill you. And it nearly killed me. And at age 34, I ended up in life-saving surgery. And I woke up in the hospital going, oh my God, my sister Beth, nothing that taught me in medical school is going to help me now. Help me. What do I do? And I ended up on a global healing journey. And looking back, I think what took me years of healing myself, learning about integrative medicine, helping other people, and now then the research was, we have busy brains. And if we don't heal chronic stress, it can kill us. And that's why I'm here today with this really strong message and relief for anybody that's listening. This ain't no podcast episode telling you, girl, just eat berries and breathe and scroll another image of puppies hugging each other on TikTok and you're going to be fine. No, we're
Yeah.
here to like bypass that nonsense and dig into the science.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I want to just kind of bounce back to the age that you said you were at 34.
At 34, this happened, and I was walking around in hormonal hell at that time. Oh, sorry. Can I say that word on your podcast?
Yeah.
Girl,
Yeah.
I was in hormonal hell because can I tell you, remember that sentence I told you? I was researching the impact of women's hormones on diseases. That just didn't exist at all back then. But going through 4 years of neurology residency training, 2 years of fellowship, I was hearing from women patients over and over that something was happening to their brains, their epilepsy, their migraines, their moods around their cycle. And I started to look at the hormone stuff and I was like, Beth, something's not right with me. I'm in my early 30s and I've never had a regular menstrual cycle my entire life. I dealt with acne. I'm like, could it be thyroid or something? And I went to male endocrinologists in academic medicine. They're like, ho, hypochondriac. Oh, look at your TSH, your T3, T4. It's just fine. And girl, my hair was falling out in chunks. This is like right before I got sick and fertility issues.
Gosh.
And I mean, you know how the story ends. You've had it on your podcast forever. It's in chapter 5 and 6, the heartbreaking story of my book. It wasn't until I got sick, I ended up in life-saving surgery. I found integrative medicine. I had a compassionate male doctor trained in integrative medicine, and I tell him the story, and we check the full panel. And of course, I had undiagnosed thyroid disease. And so, this is what was happening. Like, it wasn't just boom, one day I'm walking in stilettos in the hospital and bam, the next day I'm in the hospital. This was like a slow decline through hell.
Yeah.
And I would wake up every day like this. Girl, don't even talk to me until I have a coffee or a latte to get me going, right? And in today's world, it may not be a latte. It's maybe 6 energy drinks. Thank God that stuff didn't exist back then. You and I hear this often. And you're pushing through energy drinks and then you're like multiple screens open and browser windows open in front of us physically and in our brains. We can't focus. We're wondering if it's ADHD. You drink more coffee, you get low-key anxious. Then you remember this podcast and you're like, I'm going to stand on self-care in my brain tonight, but I can't take the edge off. So let me have a glass of wine or 3, no judgment. And if it's not that, then it's some prescription sedative like Ambien or Restoril or Xanax. And then you put your head down on your pillow and you're wired and you're tired. And there's 72 warring conversations going on in your brain. And the least important conversation is hijacking your peace and sleep. Like, ooh, I don't think my makeup looked right for this interview today. And Riverside doesn't have those filters that Zoom does. I hope Beth isn't using video. Like that will disturb your sleep. That used to be me. And that's what I call a busy brain today.
Yeah. Yeah. That constant spin that so many people have where you can't get out of it. Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions that I have, and this might be because so just from like a personal standpoint, I've had issues with myself with like, I have something going on. I'm a doctor. I should know things, right? I should know this, right? I don't recognize it for myself, right? Did you have that going on too, where it was all of a sudden you were sort of in a crisis mode before, hey, waving the white flag, I surrender, gotta change something. Do you know what I mean?
Mine was a little different, and I talk about it in the Busy Brain Cure. Was I knew something was deeply wrong. I was just struggling to get diagnosed. So I wasn't trying to play doctor to myself. So initially when the chest pain started, they thought they were right. It's chronic stress. They misdiagnosed it as, which happens in achalasia often, it got misdiagnosed as GERD. And they made me stop my 3 favorite food groups: wine, chocolate, and coffee. And at that time, not now, not today, but back then, let's keep it real. I ain't no saint of a doctor coming on this podcast. Like when I told you it was a slow ride straight through hell, I was living it, but I was
Yeah.
living it in designer shoes and expensive gourmet European chocolates. Like that's how I thought I was okay. I thought the labels and the titles would save me. It's annoying, right? And
Ooh.
when you look back at that self, what you think can protect you. And
Yeah.
so no, I struggled and we knew, and it wasn't, and even at some point they thought my dysphagia was made up. It was psychological, the difficulty swallowing. And it wasn't until I was waking up in the middle of the night, choking on my own saliva and vomit, and getting aspiration pneumonia, that they realized like something deeper is going on. My hormonal stuff, went on for decades. All of my 20s and 30s. It was 39. I was 39 when I finally found an integrative medicine doctor, and they did the full panel, and I got diagnosed, and I'm on the appropriate thyroid medications now, and the nutrition plan for it, and had a regular menstrual cycle come at that stage
Wow.
in life. So yeah. So mine was a little
Wow.
different. I wasn't the doctor being a difficult patient. I'm going to figure it out. I was like, help, something different and crazy is going on, and I'm not getting answers. And so
Yes.
thank you for asking that, because people hate the medical system, but I want you to know, when you have a
Yeah.
chronic stress and a chronic disease and it's complex, you just don't Google it and find the answer in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anybody I know, myself included, it can take months to years to get a diagnosis and then get to the root cause of what's going on. And we have to have compassion with our bodies and our systems. Our body doesn't just, automatically, flag something like the sales emails that comes in like, oh, Dr. Beth, look, there's a 25% coupon off an Athleta and buy this color because it's going to look good on you. Medicine and health is just not that way. And sometimes it takes time.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Okay. I feel like one of the things a lot of women struggle with is exactly what you just described. A lot of things going on. You knew that there was something, but didn't know exactly what it was. And then being led around in kind of different directions. But then understanding for you that, okay, it's been chronic stress this whole time that kept starting that fire and keeping it going, stoking that fire. So then how does someone who's listening to this really start the journey or continue on the journey that they're on if they're like, I still feel like I don't have answers?
Yeah. So the thing is, the labels and the titles and your to-do list and the 24/7 news cycle is not going to determine your health and well-being. You are. And I'm really practical. Like, I would not have come up on this. I would not have spent the last decade researching and writing this unique concept if I didn't have a solution. And so in the Busy Brain Cure, we have the 8-week plan to find, focus, tame anxiety, and sleep again. It's basically to heal the chronic stress so that you're removing the root cause so the fire isn't burning, to your great analogy. So step one is, Beth, Romie, we need to know our brain scores. What is your brain score? Here in the United States, we know our credit score almost at any given time, right? And if we don't know, you just click onto a website, put in your social security number, and you get it. You can't do anything in America without a credit score. Getting homeowners insurance, paying rent, paying a mortgage, getting a car, anything. It's the same thing. Why do we not know our brain scores? You can't function if you don't know your brain score. That's why you're watching another, TikTok or Instagram reel that's like 3 tips to help you fall asleep at night. It's not working because you don't know your brain score. We don't know where you started. And so we developed what we call the Busy Brain Test. It's a validated neuropsychology test. I didn't make it up. It existed. We relabeled it. So we could go into corporate America. I speak for a living and I work with large teams and give this test. And so in order to test it and learn what was chronic stress and burnout doing, 17,000 people took this test when we were doing research. And so that's what helped me to realize, hey, chronic stress, this is what happens, busy brain. Here are the numbers. Then I created a protocol based on research. And then we went out and tested it again in over 1,000 professionals. So we put it out. We did it. We tested it, and it's here in the book. And step one is, what's your brain score? And we will put a link here in Dr. Beth's show notes. It's on my website at drromie.com, on my Instagram, on my LinkedIn at Dr. Romie. And it takes 4 minutes to answer 20 simple questions on the Busy Brain test, and you get a score. And I'm interested in helping you if your score is above a 30. Because then I know you now have neuroinflammation or chronic stress in the brain. You have a busy brain and you're on the road to burnout. We need to fix it. So that's step one.
Yes. So neuroinflammation, this is a word I feel like people may not have heard.
No.
And you just, neuroinflammation, chronic stress in the brain.
Yeah. Let's start there. So, most of this, I said, look, I'm certified in mindfulness and I meditate every day, but I promise this ain't no podcast about berries and breathing and puppies. And I'm a dog mom. So no judgment, to just don't be throwing energetic tomatoes at Dr. Beth and myself right now, But all of those advice largely fail because they're the acute stress management model. And they are largely outdated from a pre-pandemic world. Our brains collectively, as a society, as a world, have been rewired going through a pandemic, the amount of digital devices we use, et cetera. So chronic stress is a state of our brain that many of us live in when life and a situation is happening for weeks or months on end. You have young children and they're keeping you up through the night, your marriage may be in strain. You have a toxic boss. I mean, this is real life. That actually creates inflammation in a part of the brain, neuroinflammation. And neuroinflammation is not a new term, Dr. Beth. When I went into neurology in the 1990s, I'm being an auntie now and aging myself. Everyone can do the math. I'm proud to say I just celebrated my 50th birthday. And yes, thank you. And we knew back then neuroinflammation was real, a pattern of inflammation that happens in the brain. It is why some people get Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis. Here's the fascinating and maybe scary thing that I found in my research was over the last 7 to 8 years, we know just living in chronic stress alone will create that same neuroinflammation in the brain, especially in an area of the brain that I call the airport traffic control tower for the non-medical people. For the medical people, your hypothalamus. Specifically your SCN nucleus and the control and the seat of your circadian rhythm. So for the non-medical people, I use this analogy often is think of the last airport you were traveling and you flew through. So I just came home from book tour stops in Europe, and I came home from Europe and connected in Detroit, DTW. If there is a snowstorm in Detroit or a thunderstorm, the Federal Aviation Association, FAA, will shut down the airport traffic control tower and say no planes can land or take off in Detroit. Okay. And you're like, well, I'm sitting in Florida. That doesn't really matter. Dr. Beth, where are you sitting right now?
Minnesota.
Okay. Yay.
Cities.
So you're like, who cares what's going on in Detroit? You're in Minnesota. I'm in Florida. Actually, we have to care because there are planes taking off and landing from connected to Detroit from all over the world, Tokyo, London, Orlando, Minneapolis, all of it. That's exactly how the airport traffic control tower in our brain works, the hypothalamus. You're in a chronic stress. You're putting stressors on all the global airspace that is connected to our hypothalamus. And one last thing happens. That quarterly sales report is due, and it's something you do all the time, and it pushes you over the edge. It's like the airport traffic control tower shut down in your brain. And now it's connected to other parts of your brain, your hypothalamus, that control our memory and cognition. It controls our mood, but it also is connected to the rest of our body and our organ systems, people. So you want to know why I was in this slow road riding in hormonal hell thinking my stilettos would save me? No, because I was putting so much stress on the airport traffic control tower through the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid adrenal axis and through the autonomic nervous system. It was like saying, we are in hell with your hormones. We are inflamed with your GI system. And one last thing is going to happen and push you over the edge. and I got sick, precancerous lesions, ended up in life-saving surgery.
Yeah. Wow. How common is this?
All right, girl. Here's the bad news. 17,000 people took this test.
Yeah.
82% of people scored above a 30.
No.
Yes, girl. And you're like, well, we're out of the pandemic. We can travel now. I just summered in Europe. I just took the kids to Asia. We learned to meditate where you did, Dr. Romie. Great. Yay.
Yeah.
But the data and the burnout data is getting worse. I look at the data coming from Gallup in the workplace of burnout, American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization. Our data tracks right along with how stressed adults in the world are.
Yeah.
And burnout in the workplace. So this is really common. It's why I'm, praise God, busy as a keynote speaker. Companies call and they be like, yeah, we need that brain shift, Dr. Romie. And we have audiences take this busy brain test live while I'm on stage, and they're taking on their phone. And there's like this shock, including into the C-suite, like, I'm going to hide my score. Like, wow. And then I have people raise their hand. Who else has above a 30? And you just see the entire audience is waving their hands. That's the world we're living in.
Oh,
and so that's why I'm here. But here were the 3 most common symptoms of your airport traffic control tower being down that I call the busy brain. Adult-onset ADHD. It means you didn't have it in childhood. You now have it as an adult. Ruminating anxiety, those thoughts on loop, and you're stuck in negative spiral. And if somebody gives you one more positive affirmation, you're going to take your shoe off and throw it at the computer. Please don't do that. Respect your shoes. And the third thing is insomnia, difficulty falling and staying asleep. And that is the busy brain.
Yeah.
A very common in high achieving professionals, men and women.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, holy cow. I'm still shocked by that 82% number.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Holy bananas.
Right?
That is crazy. That's crazy.
It's true. Oh. Here's the thing, Dr. Beth. It's not. It's reality. Oh, it is reality. This is data. And my data, we feel emotion when you're like, wow, most everyone listening to this podcast is going to have an abnormal brain score. But this is data that is correlating with other large bodies of data collection that are going out there in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's telling us all these podcasts we're listening to, all the social media posts we're consuming is not helping. We need to do a brain shift. We need to heal the neuroinflammation in the airport traffic control tower.
Yes. Yeah. And that takes time, from what you kind of referenced earlier, like I love how you said that. You said having compassion.
Yeah.
With your body. Not just patience, but compassion.
Compassion. And compassion for the healers that are trying, and that this is a place not to bash traditional medicine or not to bash holistic health or not to bash anything, is be a bridge builder, that it takes both. That, Dr. Beth is like double clicking on this. Remember, I am alive today because a world-renowned cardiothoracic surgeon and his team operated on me. It is. And I stay healthy, and I'm cognitively sharper today at 50 than I was at 25 when I graduated medical school, because of the integrative, holistic, medicine I practice. And I said it on purpose is, yes, I have thyroid disease, and yes, I watch my nutrition, and yes, I take supplements, and I take prescription medicine. Yay. Hormones. Woo, hallelujah, girl. Hallelujah. We're glowing because of hormones. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. No, I think this is one of those things I think it takes both a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And finding the right thing for you, because everybody is different. So sometimes, how often do you see this with people where they're like, oh, well, so-and-so did this, so I should do this too, and that's just going to fix everything.
I think that's why we're so unhealthy, because we compare and despair.
Yeah.
And social media helps us do that. So we used to live in a world where we would compare and despair the outfits we were wearing. And then we would compare and despair, well, their child is a star athlete at 3. Why is my child not a star athlete at 3? And then we compare and despair the international vacations we take as families. And now we compare and despair health trends. Well, if Dr. Beth is cold plunging, shouldn't I be cold plunging? But I tried it and it didn't work for me. I must be doing something wrong. Maybe I hate Dr. Beth now, God forbid. I'm going to go find a different podcast that says cold plunging is bad. Like, that's not the way it works. We have to get to the root cause. But can I give you the good news?
Yeah.
Of course, I biohacked it. And I said, we need to find an individual solution, but at scale. Because remember, I work with corporate teams, I work with large groups. And people can't be on this roller coaster forever. They're busy, they work, they're, professionals, they have personal lives. So we concocted this 8-week plan that with brain shifts or strategic micro habits in a certain order would get to the root cause. And also you go get labs and it helps you identify what's going on. So you can be on a path to healing in 8 weeks. So you're not going, God, I'm under stress and something's off, that feeling that I had, and something's wrong. And I'm going from doctor to Reiki healer and this, and everybody's adding a different ingredient to the pot in the kitchen, but we're not coming up with the solution.
Yeah.
So we put it in a solution for everybody and tested it, and it worked.
Yeah. Yes. And an 8-week program that people go through, and after the 8 weeks, what's their next step?
They find focus, tame anxiety, and sleep again. And you've taken labs. So if you know now, I'm burned out and the neuroinflammation now, did it cause me to have a hormonal abnormality as a woman? We find commonly a low vitamin D3 level, a methylation disorder. Now we know what you need treated so you feel better. So how about the question isn't, Dr. Beth, what's next? That's half the battle of busy brain. It can say, I am in control of my schedule, and my schedule isn't controlling me. In the busy brain cure, you hear that when I have a busy brain, the negative talk, inner critic is the voice of my Indian aunties and the voice of judgment. And by the end of the book, because I've practiced brain shift and now I'm teaching it to clients, it becomes the sweet, funny, hopeful voice of the aunties. So I always say that your judgment and inner critic and negativity will switch to one of wisdom and hope. That is what happens after 8 weeks. And in the third section of the book, it's not just my story now. It is the story of executives who are like, oh my God, this brain shift worked for me. Yes, Dr. Romie, put my story in the book if this will help somebody else. And so you read about the transformation of corporate clients that we had.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such an important piece too, that so many people don't realize that when you don't feel good, when your body's not functioning well, you, I want to say, feel despair or lose that hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be tough to find it again. It can be tough to put your, faith into, okay, is this going to be the thing that's going to help me? How do I know? And
I think it was. There was, you read in chapter 4, I'm sitting in the surgeon's office with my mother and father, and it's this surreal moment of daddy's girl who had the Fisher-Price stethoscope, and all the hope was with me that I become a doctor. And now I'm sitting there about to have life-saving surgery, and I fall apart. And in that moment, I felt hope depart my soul. It was a darkness that went over me. I don't know, Dr. Beth, to this day, there are many spiritual healing practices, there are words for this. There is nothing in psychology or psychiatry that describes it. When the light of hope leaves your soul, it is, I just don't know how to explain it. And it was literally getting through the physical surgery so that they could remove the precancerous lesions, I could swallow again, and healing from that, finding the path to meditation and mindfulness, and then going, it took me years of what's been compacted into an 8-week plan to figure this out and test it and all of that. Yeah. And when you heal what is inflamed in the brain and the body, it was like people were holding hope for me. And it's not that immediately the lights went on and you hear this phrase that my aunties said to me, Beta, we look at you and it's as if the lights are on and nobody is home. Oh. And if anybody in your life right now has that look, the lights are on and nobody's home, please hold hope for them. It was the one reason, Dr. Beth, I wanted to come on this podcast, is that if there is a woman listening right now that hope has departed your soul, please know, my sisters, your brain is not broken, your mind is not a mess, and hope did not depart your soul. Dr. Beth and I will hold the hope for you. Literally DM us on whatever social media channel. Tell us what to hope to hold for you. That has become my job now, Dr. Beth. Is people are like, oh, you're helping to heal busy brains? Yes. And I'm holding hope for people until it comes back into them so that then they can pass it forward and hold hope for others.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. And that's part of, and I think you said this at the beginning, where when a lot of this started and you were still on your search, looking for a solution, the isolation, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of it too, with losing the hope.
I think any one of us, when someone, you're not physically feeling well, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and hope departs your soul, you could be surrounded by people physically telling you, I'm here, and it's lonely. And it can be. And it's so important I don't know about you, Dr. Beth. I'm a doer. So if I'm in your life, I'm going to get something done. I'll make your doctor's appointment. I will drive you, to the grocery store. I will cook you your favorite soup, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
We don't need the doers. We just need someone to say, I am here and I care and you're not alone. Yeah. And to say it over and over and over again. I am here and I care and you're not alone.
Oh, that's so powerful. That's so, so, so powerful to just hear, Yeah. So my other question, and where kind of my brain goes with some of this stuff, is that, feeling the chronic stress, feeling lost, losing hope, all those things. What's the other piece of it? Because there's part of this where I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you even know you're making the right decision, or can even trust your own brain if you have this brain inflammation and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Am I making the right decisions for myself, or how do I, move forward?
I mean, step one is, we always say, is get your busy brain score and replace self-judgment with self-compassion. Week 2, we lay it out for you. So it's like, I don't need you to make decisions. It's just, here's the menu. Because how many of us have read about tiny habits, micro habits, atomic habits, but then you look at the sea of menu out there and you're like, where do I start? Strength training? Am I making the right decision? Do I quit my job? Do I give the middle finger to my boss? Do I leave my partner? Like it's so overwhelming. So we made the menu for you, and you're not going to sever any relationships in your life, right? And and here's the best news, nor am I putting anybody on a calorie limiting, tasteless cleanse. Like, diet is a 4-letter curse word in the Brain Shift protocol. Like, we actually say, eat comfort food, have the foods with somebody that feed you joy, and do that. And so we lay it out, step 2. So people are going to take the busy brain score. We send them the first part of the protocol as a gift right into your inbox. Cause I'm like, I'm not going to leave you hanging with a bad score and not tell you what to do. So you get the S in shift is to restore your sleep or circadian rhythm. So you get the 7-day sleep challenge right to your inbox, along with the supplements that starts to calm the neuroinflammation down with the supplements we recommend, restore your circadian rhythm and sleep. So we're just calming the neuroinflammation down. So like, that comes to your inbox right away. And so it's an 8-week plan, and 8 weeks, there is a micro step action to take.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. And I love too that you address, like, you're not going to sever relationships, or
no. I mean, we feel like it, don't we? Ooh, when we have a busy brain, what happens is we're sending energetic daggers to everybody in our life that's adding to our to-do list, that's cluttering up our calendars. And what we don't realize is just our energetic neuroinflammation that we're just spewing out at everybody else. But like, when you brain shift and you heal a busy brain, magically, all of a sudden, it's easy to set boundaries. Like, no, you can't take me to lunch for 3 hours and pick my brain for free as a consultant and expect me to pay lunch. All of a sudden, these boundaries just come up, and compassion for other people and patience and then clarity of, wow, do I need to go to therapy with my partner and work on something? And you're able to actually grow and heal relationships or figure out what's next without a busy brain and the toxicity that goes along with it.
Yes. Yes. That's huge. That's huge. And I also love so much that you addressed nourishing the body. I feel like especially, those of us that grew up through the, 90s, the diet trends, the fat-free everything, you know what I mean?
Well, there's a it doesn't matter what decade we grew up in, Beth, right? There was a toxic diet in every decade or more than one. Yeah. So I don't believe in any of it. And it really agitates people when I say that, especially in our integrative holistic community. But I say this is the one time I received a standing ovation in the middle of my keynote lecture was at American Counseling Association when I said, I don't believe in diets. And here is the research why. And it's actually fueling our busy brains and chronic stress. I had to stop in the middle of the lecture and there was a standing ovation because they agree. The psychological trauma that goes along with any diet or cleanse is profound, and it actually fuels the neuroinflammation. So while you may be portioning out the right amount of macros of your proteins and your healthy fats, and you're cutting out the carbs and whatever the latest trend is, whether you're keto, vegan, paleo, a food is now creating guilt and trauma in your brain instead of joy. As a chief wellness officer, as you mentioned in your intro, I'm a chief wellness officer for 12,000 employees. I want everyone to feel like they belong. Vegans, paleo, carb lovers, chocoholic, somebody that was desperate and just put some random food out of the fridge into their lunch basket, hoping it doesn't have mold. Everybody should feel like they belong and sit at the table. We shouldn't be judging like, ooh, you're not doing intermittent fasting. Like you're not biohacking the right way. Like stop that judgment. Yeah. That's what's breaking up our society. And instead, comfort food in the brain shift protocol and busy brain cure is defined as the foods that help to feed a core memory of joy. So what were the foods that were tied to a good childhood memory, a holiday, a family recipe, a religious tradition, your state or country of origin? We need more of that. So when we run the 8-week protocol live, Dr. Beth, we actually start the call with what comfort food did everybody eat this week? Yeah. And we celebrate it. And by the way, because people are reducing their neuroinflammation, healing busy brain, not only does brain bloating go down, but so does the belly bloating. And people are like, I went to Kansas City and had the most life-changing barbecue. And I just finished this 8-week protocol with Dr. Romie. And guess what? Like, oh my God, like I dropped 2 pant sizes or dress sizes.
Because that's inflammation. There's so much swelling.
So if inflammation in your brain, it's going to affect your digestion. And even if you're eating clean,
So my other question, alcohol, where does that fall?
We're going to lose friends. And I'm going to set a boundary as a brain doctor. Yeah. It's complete BS out there for any of my board certified medical colleagues that are like 1 to 2 drinks is okay. If you are being a responsible scientist and actually reading the research that is out there for brain health, mental health, and hormonal health for women, no amount of alcohol is healthy. None. Even 1 drink once a week. No. Right? Now, I'm not in the brain shift protocol. We actually, in the first 3 weeks, do ask people to abstain from alcohol or cut it by half every week. Most people, what we find is once they start reducing that neuroinflammation and chronic stress, they're no longer using alcohol as a medication to cope with life. And so it's the occasional celebratory cocktail or champagne or wine or whatever they want with a meal. My message is pick your poison. I will pick high glycemic carbs as my poison for my comfort food and enjoy it without guilt. Like, do not take away my basmati rice with potato curries and naan bread. Like yes, right? But pick it. So, I chose, going through the research and doing this, like just alcohol, no, but it's a personal choice. We do ask that during the 8-week protocol that you cut down by half, depending on what people started with, and abstain. Um, yeah, to do our best. So, but really just, if you have a busy brain and a brain score above 30, what alcohol is clinically doing is upregulating the GABA receptors in the brain. So there's that initial numbing and sedating anti-anxiety effect, but alcohol will quickly metabolize out at your own body's rate. And now you have all these upregulated GABA receptors that are not bonded with. And so you get high levels of rebound anxiety, inability to focus. And what are you doing? You're medicating with food, shopping, or alcohol all over again. And you're stuck in what we call the busy brain cure, the caffeine, the stimulant sedative cycle. You need caffeine or Adderall to get you through the day. And then you need alcohol or another benzodiazepine to calm down at night. And then you need that up. So you need an upper during the day, a stimulant, and you need a downer or a sedative at night. And so we want to break that.
Yeah. Yes. One of the things related to alcohol, because I have people do something very similar.
Okay.
When we're working on just clearing everything out, clearing out inflammation, like cut down, cut out alcohol. And I had a gal who, she was like, oh, it won't be that big of a deal. I don't drink that much. And then she said, oh, I didn't realize how much of my day or week I was mentally even thinking about having a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And, having a glass of wine. Oh, I had a stressful day. Oh, I'm going to have a glass of wine, reward myself at the end of the day. Or, oh, we're going on a girls' trip this weekend. And she's like, I didn't realize that I planned so many activities and events and just hanging out with other people. I didn't do it without alcohol. It was all centered around alcohol. So she's like, removing that. She's like, it was a completely different experience for me.
It is. And by the way, the end result can be really positive when you're going through it. It's not easy. When you have a life that revolves around socializing with alcohol, meditating with alcohol, this podcast is not designed to help you with that. Get a therapist, or a health coach or a doctor to help you with that. It is, it's not easy, and for the faint of heart. And so I really want to respect that.
Yes. Yes, it's not for the faint of heart.
It is. And society has programmed, I think, certain generations of women that we're going cocktailing, that it's almost made it abnormal that you choose not to drink.
Yeah.
That something is wrong with you if you're not drinking, So it is really, society has normalized it. And even funny memes like, calling wine mom juice or something, that somehow it's normalized. You can't cope as a mother unless you have a sedative like alcohol to calm you down. And there's just so much negativity. What's really happening is you have a busy brain. And so, being a parent is tough for everyone. And if you have a busy brain on top of it, now don't go to caffeine and alcohol, but can we heal the busy brain so you're not dependent on those things?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. I was just at a wedding, and that was one of the things that, it's like you show up, they do the ceremony, and then right away, bar's open.
Yeah.
Everybody's lined up at the bar.
Yeah. And it is. Well, or my opposite now, I'm in professional settings, having to go to cocktail parties all the time, or business meetings, or evening dinners. And everyone is, the cocktail hour at a reception, for a conference or that. And they see that, the chief wellness officer is not drinking. And so then it's like this self-shame that they're holding their cup and they're like, oh, she's having water or a mocktail. Like, oh, I can't drink in front of Dr. Romie. So people will project their stuff on you. And if you're not healed with your busy brain, your boundary is going to slip, and either you're going to feel really bad about yourself, or you're going to be like, okay, it's okay, Dr. Beth, just give me the cocktail. Okay. Right. Or you acquiesce instead of, okay, I brain shifted. I heal my busy brain. I'll be like, Dr. Beth, you go ahead, have the cocktail. No worries. I'm happy with my, sparkling water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes it so different because you're not looking forward to it. You don't need that. Oh, I've been so stressed all day,
Yeah.
or this
Yeah.
is such a long day. I
Yeah.
really need that drink.
Or
Your
I can,
brain doesn't even go
yes,
there.
or I can be honest with my emotions. Like I'm an introvert that
Yeah.
presents as an extrovert on stage, and networking events are a nightmare for me. I'm uncomfortable in this room. I'm not going to use alcohol to make myself uncomfortable. I'm going to name that emotion. And then I'm going to learn techniques for introverts who are socially awkward to network. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love this. I love this conversation. I just,
Same, sister. I feel like we could just like sit over our favorite mocktail, or I always say a cup of chai, whatever you like to have in your cup that's non-alcoholic, and just
yeah.
sit and chat forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is fantastic. And again, I feel like a lot of people are hesitant or nervous to try, like, oh, I've never really cut out alcohol, or, oh, I can't do it now. It's summer. There's so many barbecues and this and that. Or, there's never a good time to do it other than when your body needs it. Just,
Well, how about this? Instead of making it hard for people, because I think it's a theme I've been hearing in your interview, because it's not easy to choose a journey of health. But
yeah.
also, it's not easy to have disease. Like, let's just be real, right? So you're in one path.
Yeah.
And so what if we said, I made it easy for you? Get your brain score. Here's the 8-week plan. We lay it out in micro habits. It's meant for busy professionals, people who are parents or caregivers of elderly. A micro habit that doesn't really get in the way of your life. What if we just reframe it and said, we made the busy brain cure so busy, successful professionals could execute on it and heal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I love that. Okay. So we're going to have all the links available for people to, I'm checking all my notes, to make sure that they can take the busy brain test, know their brain score. It'll send everybody what to do, next steps right to their inbox, which is so convenient. And then they can go from there. Like, this is, I want to say, it almost sounds too easy. Like, why would you not?
But
Get
see,
your brain score.
that's when we have a busy brain. We think everything has to be hard.
Yeah.
And what if ease is your birthright? And so it is. And and then get the book. It's on Audible. It is available globally where books are sold, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble's, Target, Walmart, in 8 languages. It's there. We lay out the protocol for you and heal that busy brain and shift to a place of hope, because the world needs us women right now to be hope holders.
Yes. Yes. 100%. I feel like women are the caretakers, right? In their families, in their communities, right? And anybody that you're connected with, you're a
Our
caretaker.
businesses, the community, our philanthropies, our cities globally. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I so appreciate you coming on, sharing all this information. How you talk about it is so informative. And again, there are like the voices that I hear a lot of the time from a lot of women is they get really nervous or scared or afraid that it's not going to work, or they're thinking, gosh, this is just one more thing. And again, that's why it sounds so easy to get started, which I so appreciate, because there's like no barrier then for people.
Yeah.
Like, just take the test, just get moving. That one little step can change everything then.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll put all the information there for people to find you, follow you, take the brain test, get that brain score, get the book. And I can't wait to hear stories. I can't wait to hear more stories from people.
It is an honor to serve your community.
Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.